Zygomycota, Trichomycetes. In the previous class, in the previous lecture, we saw Zygomycetes, right? Actually, in the present classification, there is no such separate divisions like Zygomycetes and Trichomycetes. So in the present classification, that what we are following is a cricketal classification, right? But in the previous classification, it was there like two different classes are there, like Trichomycetes and Zygomycetes. Two different things are there. But now this Trichomycetes was added to Zygomycetes only. Now entirely it called as Zygomycota. So no separate divisions like Trichomycetes and Zygomycetes in the present, but previously it was there. So what are all the fungi we are going to discuss? We have already discussed in the Zygomycetes only, but still to have a understanding about in the previous classification and as well as in the present classification. So just it's a small lecture regarding this Trichomycetes. I'm Manoj Shankar Reddy, PhD plant pathology. So the members of this Trichomycetes are generally called as hair fungi. So the name itself indicate Trichomycetes. Tricho means hair. So generally tricho means hair. So these fungi are called as hair fungi. We can also call as gut inhabiting fungi because this fungi grows inside the guts of maybe insects or crustaceans or maybe some other kinds of millipedes. So that's why it's called as gut inhabiting fungi, because it grow inside the gut. And this also called as fungi associated with arthropods, because this fungi, they're obligate parasites. They were grown in the guts of insects as well as crustaceans and as well as millipedes. So it is a very important, this fungi is known as hair fungi. And in certain species, why it is called hair fungi? In certain species, the thallus, they produce very large thallus and they were grows inside. Actually they are aggregated and grows inside the gut. So due to the presence of this hairy appearance or some kind of fuzzy appearance, this is called as a Trichomycetes or hair fungi. As I told you, tricho means hair. So hair fungi, that's what it's called as. So generally asexual reproduction is by means of production of sporangiosperms, or sometimes it also produces arthrospores and also produces trichospores. Anyone maybe produces sporangiosperms or maybe arthrospores or maybe trichospores. As I told you, tricho means hair, right? Hair, right? So that's why it's called a hair fungi. Okay. There are four important orders are there in the entire Trichomycetes. There are four important orders. Among the four orders, there is only one order where sexual reproduction was observed. The order is Harpellales, which we have already discussed in the Zygomycetes, right? But anyway, still we will see just common features or common important points. And there is a monograph called the Trichomycetes, which was written by Richard Wardet in 1986, especially on this Trichomycetes group of fungi. This Trichomycetes consists of 55 genera, and we're not going to discuss all those genera and all the things. And 225 species are there. We'll discuss only important things. As we discussed, there are four orders are there: Harpellales, Acellariales, Exrinales, and Amoeboidales. These are all the four important orders we are going to discuss. The order Amoeboidales, among the four orders, this order Amoeboidales, previously it was classified under this Trichomycetes. Now later it was shifted to protozoa because they are producing some kind of amoeboid kind of cells. That's why they are referred or transferred to protozoa based on the kind of spores they are producing. We'll start with the first one is Harpellales. I repeat once again, all these things we have already discussed in Zygomycetes only. Just to understand or to make a clear understanding about this classification, previously it was two, now it was actually fully classified in the cricketal classification. It was fully classified under Zygomycetes or Zygomycota only. This Harpellales consist of 33 genera and 142 species are there in the order. So as we discussed already, asexual reproduction is by means of sporangiosperms or maybe arthrospores or maybe trichospores. Here this Harpellales produces trichospores, so which they possess several appendages. Take a look at this on the picture. This is a trichospore. Take a look at this. Some kind of curved or some kind of circinide kind of structure will be seen here. This is called trichospore, where you can see here some kind of hair-like structure, that is called appendages generally. And if we see here generative cell, or generally this hypha is called as generative cells with septations. We can take a look at here. Here this generative cell, from the generative cells this trichospores are produced. Okay, so they lack 9 plus 2 types of flagella. I repeat once again, they lack 9 plus 2 types of flagella. Generally fungi possess 9 plus 2 types of flagella, but bacteria possess 9 plus 1. But in the case this Trichomycetes, they lack 9 plus 2 type of flagella. Here the trichospores are produced exogenously. Exogenous means outside, endo means inside, where exo means outside. Here take a look at this, the trichospores are produced outside. Here we can take a look at this, trichospores are produced outside. Don't worry about the shape, each and every genera produce their own types of trichospores, but the ultimate thing is asexual reproduction is by means of trichospore. So this trichospore is actually originated from a generative cell. Take a look at this, this is generative cell, or this is generative cell. You can consider the growing hyphae or germinating hyphae is considered as a generative cell. Take a look at this, this is a generative cell. Here this is the generative cell, generally like a growing hyphae, for our understanding I'm telling. Okay, so this trichospores arises from the generative appendages. Generally sexual reproduction is maybe rare. Some in among the four genera only Harpellales only sexual reproduction was observed. That too, the production of zygospore is biconical zygospore. So two kinds of biconical, two of such kind of zygospores they'll produce. And two important genera are there, Harpella and as well as Smithia. So this is Harpella, where they produce some kind of rounded kind of or circinate kind of trichospores, whereas Smithia produces some kind of I don't know how to describe this, some kind of trichospore, but it's not circinate compared to this Harpella. So the next order is Acellarials. So Acellarials consist of 3 genera and 11 species are there. Asexual reproduction is by means of fragmentation and also sometimes by reproduction of arthrospores. Take a look at this. From this thallus, they were broke into small pieces or breaking into small pieces. These small pieces are known as arthrospores. We can also call it as idea. We might have discussed in general properties of fungi, right? So thallus is septate. We can clearly observe here the thallus is clearly septate. And branched hypha is branched, of course branches are there here, right? And sexual reproduction is unknown, as I told you. Among the four orders like Harpellales, Acellariales, Externariales, Amoeboidales, among the four orders only sexual reproduction was observed in Harpellales. In the remaining orders there is no sexual reproduction, as we discussed. And the next order is Externales. So this Externales consist of 18 genera and 62 species are there. Here, as we have discussed, only asexual reproduction in the remaining genera, except this Harpellales. So here asexual reproduction is two types of sporangiospores are produced. So that the sporangiospores are actually produced endogenously. Endo means inside. The sporangiospores are produced inside this sporangium. So here the first one is multinucleate sporangia. This A is multinucleate, consists of multiple number of nuclei. So multinucleate sporangia, they are actually thin-walled and they consist of and they germinate within the digestive tract. When it comes to uninucleate, this is the uninucleate, so which consists of thin-walled, very thin-walled, and only one were formed, right? So that's why it's called a uninucleate spore, single spore. Multinucleate means multiple number of spores are produced. So here they are producing a thick wall, right? Why this thick wall? Of course, to survive or to become a resistant to the unfavorable time or drought period, or maybe to survive unfavorable environmental conditions, the thick-walled spores are produced. The last order amoeboidals. So based on the characteristics of production of amoeba, this was placed under protozoa. Before it was under Trichomycetes only. Now it was actually classified under the kingdom protozoa. So this is one of the smallest order, consists of only 4 orders and 2 genera were there. And the 2 important genera are Amoeboidium and Para-Amoeboidium are the 2 important. So they also produces asexual spore. The asexual spores are known as amoeboid cells. So due to production of this amoeboid cells only, they were actually classified under a protozoa because it is producing amoeboid kind of cells. So these amoeboid cells are actually uninucleate. They are lacking of rigid cell wall, or maybe sporangiospores having a rigid cell wall. Generally sporangiospores are having rigid cell wall, right? But this amoeboid cells, they lack a rigid cell wall. And sexual reproduction is unknown in amoeboidals. As we discussed, among the 4 orders only Harpellale sexual reproduction was observed. And there are one species called Amoeboidium parasiticum. They are actually grown externally on the host, and it is also known to be the first Trichomycetes group of fungi that grown axonically, which means that can be grown in a laboratory conditions in a laboratory conditions by using a medium, various kinds of medium, that is different. Axonical in a culture form. Okay, the Amoeboidium parasiticum. So maybe we do expect such kind of question. So when they grow axonically in a sterol-free medium, this Aspergillus parasiticum, they produces two kinds of other sterols. They are called as cholesterol and as well as ergosterol. As we already discussed, due to the production of amoeboid cells, they were classified under or reassigned into the kingdom Protozoa. Yeah, for further details, a student may refer this book, A Vision into Plant Pathology, a complete student version. For further doubts, clarification and guidance, student may reach us at www.geekyresearcher.com. Stay geeky and stay tuned. We are Team Geeky Researchers.